Part 2. The second measure of dance style concerns the middle of the body. One observes whether the chest, shoulders, belly, or hips are moved out of line with each other. This we term multi-unit style. Or whether the torso is handled as one segment in single-unit style. On screen right, note the multi-unit trunk use, 90% of which occurs with full agriculture. On screen left, single unit, accounting for 87% of the dances of simple producers. This contrast between solid and articulated trunk styles also varies with climate. About 90% of multi-unit dances occur in warm latitudes. Multi-unit is tropical. Contrary-wise, 85% of the dances from cultures in cold latitudes employ a block-like posture, as notable among these modern Ainu as among their ancestors, dancing at a ceremony of bear sacrifice. This compact body attitude is common throughout the Arctic. It provides a solid base for the hunter's heavy work on the ice in the far north where big game is plentiful. When the Eskimo hunter begins his long wait on the ice at the seal hole, he settles into a wedge-like single-unit posture to face the polar cold. Meanwhile, his womenfolk must stay inside to keep the baby alive at the fire. This division of labor is essential wherever there's an annual season of severe winter weather. The women's play arouses the child to whole body exertion and a solid body attitude that the Arctic hunter needs for his heavy work in the cold. Actually, variants of this posture occur all around the perimeter of the Pacific among hunters and descendants of hunters whose lives depend upon a single powerful spear thrust. This Australian Aborigine, reviving an ancient ritual, employs this rigid posture. And east across the Pacific, we find it again among the hunters of Mato Grosso and Patagonia in South America. This Umatina Indian is stalking a fish along a riverbank. He shoots it. He and his comrades dance in a markedly single-unit style. It closely resembles the body attitude of the Eskimo in his hide parka. Among hunters, the man is usually stage center, dramatizing his food-getting role, while women watch appreciatively at the side. Thus, the hunter-fisher single-unit stance, brought from Siberia, reinforced by life in the American Arctic, passes south. It shapes the dance style of the salmon fishers of the northwest coast. It forms 90% of North American Indian dances. In the Southwest, at a Navajo ritual. On the sunny dance plazas of the Pueblo Indians. Single unit lives on among all the descendants of the Siberians, the first Americans, as it does among these latter-day Aztecs, honoring their ancestors on the great plaza of Mexico City. Single unit also accounts for about 90% of the dances of South American Indians. Note the solid stance in the work of these Chapaya Indians, descendants of the Incas, and in their sober dance to panpipe and drum. Here is single unit, again among Aymara dancers at a fiesta in the Andes. And from the mountains through the Amazon basin, the solid block-like torso is universal, as among these Kamayura of the Chingu. Thus, the settlement of the Americas by Siberian hunters put a stamp on the movement style of their descendants all over South America. And one finds it all round the Pacific. Australian dance is more than 90% single unit. It accounts for more than 70% of the dances of Melanesian yam gardeners. And though less frequent in Malaysia, single unit torso is striking among these Indonesian hunters, the Mentawai. This posture molds more than 80% of the dances of East Asia. Note the straight backs of these Chinese Formosans. It dominates Japan. These deer maskers move their torsos as one piece. The great cold northern plains of Eurasia, stretching from Siberia to Europe, have been another avenue of influence for the northern hunter style. In Tibet, monks increased the fearsomeness of their demon dances by turning like stone statues. In Central Asia, the Uzbeks, descendants of Genghis Khan, perform a stiff-waisted horseman's dance. Turkish dervishes whirl with a quiet middle body. Single unit, Europe's link to the Arctic, is the rule in most European dances. These are Carpathian poles. Note the ramrod straight backs of these Hebridean Scots. The roots of their long ways dance can perhaps be seen in this English horn dance, an emblem of Britain's not too distant hunter past, as their leader presently remarks.
And this is dancing too. Believe it or not, they've been doing this in England for over 1,000 years.
European colonists imported the single unit tradition into North America, where square dancers hold the middle body upright and steady as they weave their way through a complex floor plan. It's America's uniqueness that here the undiluted single unit style encounters and lives with its opposite, the multi-unit style of Black America. The torso of this Harlem professional bursts out in high-speed energy that shifts between body parts. And he can flick into instantaneous synchrony with his partner. Variants of this electrifying hip-twisting style developed in every Afro-American zone, in the South, in the West Indies, all around the Caribbean. Their origin, of course, was in the dance of Africa. West Africans are said to encourage such hip-rocking dances to prepare young people for the responsibilities of marriage. They seem to be more common in female than in male dances, and this may explain their special prominence in Africa and other tropical regions, since their women often outdo men as food producers, and thus their movements hold the center of the stage. In warm latitudes, a woman is not housebound by the weather if she has a child. She can take it with her to her work. Thus, 88% of West and Central African dances and 90% of South African dances are multi-unit. These Luba women, who are gardeners and daughters of gardeners, twist proudly. A Chopi man shows off his pelvic skill and smiles. Multi-unit, 81% in East Africa, where a virtuoso accents his twist with tempo breaks. These Wakambas of East Africa employ vertical undulations, as well as a myriad of other multi-unit devices. Vertical undulations of torso and head are the rule in this Maasai dance, as in many African pastoral groups. In North Africa, multi-unit drops to 65%. At the southern rim of the Sahara, black Arab girls come out to greet a camel caravan from the desert. Their torsos vibrate and undulate vertically. In Morocco, professional dancers combine vertical with horizontal torso movements in the belly dance, probably known to the temple prostitutes of ancient Egypt. Belly dancing is essential entertainment in North Africa and the Middle East, where respectable women once never showed themselves in public places, like this all-male bistro in Turkey. In Central Europe, where women share the farm work, they sometimes also swing their hips, as in this Hungarian wedding dance. In the whole world of early agriculture, from the Danubian plain to India, fertility was a core value and sensuous dances were encouraged. Multi-unit is one more link between India and Indonesia, where a more restrained style confines itself to swaying hips and subtle shoulder gestures. The island track of the Malayo-Polynesians into the Pacific lies in a tropic zone, where women and children can share in the work of the men. Perhaps Polynesian migration may be traced by the diffusion of the fluid multi-unit style from island to island across the warm sea. These are children of Yap, a possible early stop on the Polynesian route into the Pacific. A 1,000 miles east to the Gilberts, where the multi-unit continuity is maintained in the pelvic virtuosity of these Micronesian women. Pursuing the track of Polynesian culture into the far Pacific, we find the climax of the multi-unit style in the modern hula, the dance of all Western Polynesia. Perhaps the eroticism of the hula has to do with the unusually high position that women hold in Polynesian culture. Now on this green world, we'll map the body attitudes. We'll use blue for the single unit hunter style in North Europe.